back to Knitting Nook here on C is for Crone, and I am Ray, and I'm the crone in C is for Crone. In Knitting Nook here, we have been dealing with learning how to do some stitches for the summer craft project, which will summer knitting project, which I will be unveiling in the next video. The whys and wherefores and what she needs. And just heads up, it is a shawl. I may have mentioned that before. And I look forward to doing it. It is going to be a big project. I'm hoping I can get it done with all my other projects and things that I'm doing by September. But if not, I should have it for Christmas. So this one we may be extending past the summer. It might go summer, fall. Anyways, this video is going to be 2 things instead of 1, and I'm going to try and keep it really short and to the point sweet here. We are going to learn, not only are we going to learn the purl stitch, we're also going to learn how to increase. And this is so that I can get right into that, because it is the 6th of June. And it'd be great to get that project started. That summer project started here pretty quick. So, jump right into it. So, been using a number 4 Bernat Premium pink yarn. Been using, these are a size 10 US hooks. Since I'm not doing a full project, this is just a tutorial on how to do stitches. I'm using the small little needles. For that summer project, I will be suggesting circular needles, because you're going to start with 50 and then it's going to go like this. And I don't know what the length is. I will not know how big it is going to be until I finish. So I hope you'll follow along and just watch. So that'd be cool. Anyways, so first thing we need to do is make some kind of slip knot to start our casting on for today's tutorial. So remember, if you watch the other videos, I have been calling one the working needle and the other one the holding needle. Now I'm right-handed, so the working needle goes in the right hand, the holding goes in my left. If you're left-handed, it would be reversed. Your working would be your left hand, and your holding would be your right hand. I do not knit left-handed. I don't know if I can. Sometime in the future it might be interesting to learn how to do that. But anyways, okay, so we take our slip knot and we slide it onto our holding needle and kind of cinch it up, not too tight. Knitting is very much about tension. Whoops, sorry, shifting. And so now we need to cast on, and we'll be casting on 30 stitches. So if you've got that mastered, go ahead and cast on your 30 stitches. Otherwise, just kind of follow around me. So you slide up into your loop, and see if I can get my yarn to cooperate here. Wrap around, pull through, and on. And then you have 2. So I'm going, in the interest of time, I'm going to do a couple more here, and then I'm just going to knit them on. So it's up through, wrap around, pull through, and on. Up through, wrap around, pull through, and on. And at that point you should have 4, and as this is practice, it's better to have everything be loose. So I'm just going to quickly 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and please do not pay attention to how I hold the needles. Hold your needles how it feels comfortable for you. I used to drive my mom very crazy because she was one of those ones. She had them so they were like this and knitting and click 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 click. So, but anyways, so that was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. So, doing a quick count. It will work more or less if you miscounted, but a quick count is good. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, and 30. Okay, so for the first row of this tutorial, we're going to go back to the knit stitch and do a knitted row. And just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so for anyone new, a knit stitch is you slide up through your loop, wrap around, pull through, and then pull off. Up, through, over, through, and off, so that we're transferring the loops as we're knitting here from the holding needle to the working needle. And so over and through and then off. And 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and I've kind of screwed everything up for anybody's counting. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, I guess I didn't, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and up through, around, and pull back through and off, makes 30. So now that you've done that first row, it should look something like this. And this is why I said watch your needle size. Watch your noodle size too, because this is 30 stitches on this little needle, on the shorter needle, and that's spread out. So it's very deceptive when you're kind of doing things, but you will notice that, especially as you are increasing, that it will get very, very bunched up and tight on it, and it'll be harder to find the loops when it's all bunched up. So and also easier to have stuff fall off your needle here. So the next row in this tutorial will be the increase row. I'm going to show you how to increase. I prefer to increase on the knit stitch rather than the purl stitch. It's just easier for me. I just find it easier. So it can be done on the purl stitch, but I find it easier. So you start with a regular knit stitch, so around, down, through, and loop. But instead of pulling this part off, you go back through the back like this. Instead of the side beside you, facing you, you go through the side facing away from you, wrap around, and pull through just like you're going to knit, and you'll end up with 2. That's a 1 increase. Then that's how to do an increase. Okay, and then we're going to knit across for the rest of this row. And we'll be increasing at the end of the row. So. And you can count as you go, if you'd like. And I'm hoping I'm not being too fumbly-handed with this. Got a little bit of shaking going on today. The gray weather, it's been raining. They were calling for thunder showers, so the barometer's been up. I don't think we actually got thunder showers, but it was really windy yesterday, and it's been wreaking havoc with my fibro and my osteoarthritis. So, yes, we're coming to the end, so just knitting across. And this is not exactly how we will be, well, this will be how we'll be starting that summer project, is 1 row of knit, 1 row with an increase of knit, and so basically what I'm showing you is a mini version of how to do the larger shawl. And we're down, I'm down to the last 3 stitches. Remember, take your time. You can always pause me. I won't take offense to that. That's the beauty of YouTube. So up through, wrap through for the increase, pull through, in the back, on the other side away from you, wrap over, up through, and off. Okay, and you should have on this needle now, if you've done it right, I do believe 32 stitches. So, and be very careful when you're counting. It might be easier to just bunch it up towards the point at this point, and then pull towards the end. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, and 32. So the next row is also a knit increase row. And one of the reasons why we're doing a lot of knit increase rows is to keep your project from curling on you. Purl likes to roll in on the sides and likes to roll up on kind of on its ends. Very beautiful when doing stocking stitch, which is a knit one row, purl the next, and then back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Very, very beautiful. I love doing Afghans with it. It allows, especially with the variegated yarns, to lay colors a little bit different than when you're doing crochet, or if you just do the knit stitch in a garter, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so got the increase, up through, wrap around, pull through the back, up around, up through, and off, and then knit across. And when we finish this row, you should have 34 stitches at the end of this row. And as always, when you're first learning to do knitting, as with crochet, use a yarn that's smooth. So if you have to frog, you can easily pull your project apart. The fuzzy yarns, they can be very, very beautiful, but they have a tendency to catch on each. They loop on like a little vine tendrils. They just have a tendency to twist up on each other. And so make it user-friendly. Use a size of needles that you feel will fit in your hands comfortably. Don't be afraid, depending on what you're doing, to use your body to hold the needles. Circular needles, I have less problem with dropping. Every once the hands will just let go, so I drop. And absolutely do not be afraid to frog. If you're taking notes or have a pattern, you can always just start over from the beginning. A practice swatch is often helpful too. So we're in the last one. Up through, down through, loop over, pull through, up through, loop around, loop over, and up through and off. So, and that should have you at 34 stitches. So in the interest of time, as I can see on my phone, it's coming up to 20 minutes. I'm going to start the pattern. So we're going to start a purl row. I don't normally after 2 because of that curling issue. So you want to knit increase, pull through, and up through, and through the back, and over and pull through. And then you'll want to knit 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 more. I think that gives you 6 stitches. We'll knit 7, 8, 9, and 10. So with that increase, that counts as 1. So you should have 10 knit stitches on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, purl is worked in the back. So you bring your yarn from this side where you're facing, where it's hanging down, which would be considered the front side. Pull it over so that it's now, I'll turn my knitting needles around, so it's now hanging on this side, on the side that's towards you. Then you take your working needle, and you slide, instead of going up, you go down through, wrap around, and pull up. Down through, wrap up, round, pull up, and off. Down through, wrap around, and pull off. And we'll be doing this for 20 stitches. Down through, wrap around, and pull off. Down through, wrap around, and pull off. Down through, wrap around, pull off. Down through, wrap around, pull off. Down through, and wrap around, pull off. So yes, on the inside towards you, down through, wrap around, and pull off. Down through, wrap around, pull off. Down through, wrap around, and pull off. Now I'm going to count, make sure, because you want to have 10 on the end. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Or actually 9. You should have 9 on this end, so when you do the increase you get 10. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So down through, and you can stitch mark that at the end. Down through, wrap around, up through. Down through, wrap around, up through, off. Down through, wrap around, up through, and off. And 2, 4, 6, 8. Down, that makes 10. So and here and off. Now we're going to take our yarn, pull it back towards, so for me it's take it from here and towards my camera, and we're going to knit the last 9 stitches, creating a 10th stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the increase is up through, wrap around, pull through, but don't pull off, then go into the back of the loop, which is on the outside of your folding needle, wrap around, pull up and off. And as we're going, you should have 36 stitches now on here, because we're increasing as we're going. You can sort of see where it's starting to go up. Here, I'll lean this against the table so it's shaking less. And you can see, if I pull my little end there, you can sort of see that it's creating a diagonal as we go. So, and then this one, I'm going to get it started, and then I'm going to pause, and then I'll show you the increase again on the other end. So, increase, up through, wrap around, pull through the back, wrap around, and off. And then we want to knit 8 more. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we're knitting straight across on this row, so don't have to worry about, just knit straight across. Sorry, checking this for, it's a husband check. He's at dialysis today and possibly will be home in the next little while. So we're knitting straight across. Knitting straight across here. So what we're doing with this knitting straight across is we're getting all this kind of bumpy on the back and creating, you won't be able to see it really good, but smooth on the front where you did purl stitching. Knitting straight across. And don't worry about being disorganized in your mind. I do it all the time, and I still manage to function and things. It's part of the fibromyalgia. You get fibropog, and I have lots of fatigue from all 3 arthritises, and I have migraines. And so I do love my yarn projects. I love to knit and crochet to help keep things a little bit relaxed in my life. Like I said, my husband goes to dialysis for his kidney failure, and so lots of stress. So this is a great way to feel productive on days that are feeling you're depressed, just sad or whatever. I find this a happy project. So as we are knitting across and coming to the end here, so this row, which I'm not sure what row that was, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, row number 4. Got to the end, is up through there, because we're doing the increase, second part, and then up through and pull off. So now, as we get to the point of it, you can see it's, I'll stretch it out a little bit here, that yes, we are getting a definite slant with this increase, and you will get that rapid zoop with when you're doing increase every row. So back to our purl row, we knit up and in, wrap around, pull down, go back in front of that holding needle, wrap around our working needle, pull through, and then off. Knitting is very much a dance from one needle to the next needle. And then you want to, here's where you want to knit the 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that should give you 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And what I'm doing is doing a 10 border with it. And then remember, with purl, you're bringing your yarn back towards you. Bring it back towards you, because we're working in this side of the loop that's facing you. And you go down in, wrap around your working needle, up through, pull off the holding needle, down through, wrap around, up through, off, down through, wrap around, up through, and 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 off, and then down through, wrap around, up through, and off, down through, up through, and off, down through, wrap around, up through, and off, down through, wrap around, up through, and off, down through, wrap around, up through, and off. And it might be easier for some people, as you're working patterns with increase on a purl row, if as you're getting through, to come down and with a stitch marker, whatever it is you choose, to count out 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9, so that you know. I usually just knit to the end and then knit to where I think I'm about, and then count. So 1, 2, and 3 is what I think I was doing. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Nope, I need to do one more purl stitch. So down through, wrap around, up through, and off. Then you take the yarn and you pull it away from you, so that it's back on this front side, and up through, wrap around for the knit, and you'll be knitting to the end. Knitting to the end and coming down to the last few stitches, and then up through for the increase here, wrap around, pull up, and then through there again, and up through, and there we go. And what you can see, I should have did this on the circular needles, is you've got all this knit going on here, and then the purl. So you can kind of see, there you go, there we go. You can see where the purl stitch is laying flat and creating, with this pattern, this bumpy, which is bumpy on both sides. And then we have bump on both sides and smooth in the middle. And what we're doing is we're creating a border on here. So what I want you to do is to take a few minutes here and continue to practice. Don't forget to increase on both sides. Purl in the second row, and I'm going to go ahead a little bit and get a chunk so you can see what's going on, and then we'll continue to practice the stitches. So I'm going to pause right now and go ahead a bit. And we're back. And you can see, after me doing a couple of rows here, you can really, okay, I'll just pull it forward a little bit. You can really see, that's the problem with the curling. You really do need to have extra knit rows, but oh, there we go. You can really see the pattern forming where the purl is going this way, as well as the knit is going this way too. It'd be much easier to see while you're doing it. So I ended up with those couple rows with the knits on that purl row there, where you finish up with your knitting, and you can see on the back there too the slight bit of difference as you're going along between the loops of a purl stitch and the loops of the knit stitch as you're doing garter into this stocking stitch here. Or as I believe if you just do purling, it's called stockinette. Probably should go through my book and do a little bit of a definitions thing. So anyways, hello and welcome back in the ever ongoing adventures of recording things on your phone with limited time things. So I had been talking about how patterns where I left off, and yeah, you can see there, cleaned out my phone so I have lots of time to finish this up. Anyways, so here we go. So the increase, this is the knit row here, wrap around, up through, back down through in the back there, wrap around, up through and off, and then we just knit straight across on the knit row. It's just my niece. we're messaging. I'm hoping what I can get her to do is take my notes for projects and turn them into actual written patterns that I can have on here for the things I make, crochet and knitting. And eventually I will have an Etsy shop, because you know, you have all these projects that you do. I end up with stuff, and what am I supposed to do with all this stuff? So not all of it will I want to keep, so, or have people I can give stuff to. So anyways, as we are working through our knit row here, you can really see, when you stop to take a moment, how this pattern is going to look for that summer knit project, which is a shawl. And you may notice as you are purling and stuff, things are getting a little tight. I have that all happen all the time. My purl rows are often tighter than my knit rows. I'm not sure why my tension is off like that, but that's how it is. Yeah, that's how it works for some days for me, and that's how I knit. So remember, don't be afraid to frog if you make a mistake. These are just tutorials on how to learn how to do stuff, so be fearless and rip your project apart. Go back to the beginning of the video and start over. And so we increase, wrap over, through and up, wrap over, through and up and off. And for the purl row is up through, wrap around through, then back through into the front there, wrap around and up through, so you have 2, and then you count 8, 3, whoops, this would be 5 because I'm miscounting, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 for your border on there. Then you put always remember, on a purl row, after knit, you bring the yarn towards yourself, you hang down there in the back, and wrap around, down through, wrap around, and off. Down through, wrap around, up through, and off. Down through, up. Okay, start that over. Okay, down through, wrap around, up through, and off. Down through, wrap around, up through, and off. Down through, up through, and off. Down through, off. Wrap around, and off. Down through, wrap around, up through, 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 and off. And you continue doing that the whole way across till you get to your last 9 stitches. And I hope my fingers weren't in the way too much. And please pause, go back through, just take your time. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, okay. And remember, if it's easier for you for this, to figure out where your knit into your purl increase is, to put a stitch marker in there, then do that. 2, 4, 6, 8. Whoops, I went trying to. So it would have pulled off there. So if you overcount, this is a tutorial, so you're going to potentially rip this out anyways. What you would do if you overcount is you go back into the loop you just took off your hook. Okay, this one right here, that loop right there. Go down back into it, pull the loop on your working needle off, and pull your yarn out, and then that will put your back there. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. For the knit row, you pull it back out in front of you, and remember, go around the in between the needles instead of this way, because if you do that, you will increase your stitches without even realizing it, because that's another way to increase the stitch. Okay, I need to pause for a minute and I'll get right back to you. Okay, now back to where I was we are, yes, down to the last 9 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And you've brought your yarn forward between your needles to finish off this knit purl row. There we go. Down to the end here. And the increase is up through, wrap around, down through. So you have your loop, then back in through and up there, wrap around and up through, and we're finished. And there you go. You can see the bunching as as it's getting bigger on my needles. Here, 2, 4, 6, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, and 48. If I did my counting right, I have 48 stitches, and you can see that even stretched out, we're starting to get bunching, and that's why when I do the summer project, I will be using circular needles, because the circular needles have that plastic wire thing through from needle to needle, and your work gets all caught in that there. So, and it allows you to do easily without trying to cram onto needles extra. Those big long projects like full-size Afghan bedspreads or whatever you're doing, just bigger pieces, and it's great for increase. And you can see we've got quite the diagonal going on here, and it's being followed with this purl stitch is chasing it up the side, and we are keeping our 10 stitch border here. So I'm going to end the video here. If you had some trouble following, frog it, start over again, and do this over and over as much as you feel you need to do it, because I would really love everyone to be able to join me for that summer knit project, because we'll be making a shawl that will look a little something like this. So, have a good evening, and I'll knit with you later.